And I think the question gets down to why do we need to have congressional term limits? I would hope that if you look at what's been happening in Washington, and it seems to be getting progressively worse over the last 20 or 25 years, or it even goes back farther, Congress is not functioning really the way that many Americans think that it should. And if you look at the congressional approval, and quite frankly, it's down in the single digits. There's been several national organizations that have looked at how does the public feel about this. And I'll be fair. We'll do polls that have been done by more center right-leaning organizations like the Heritage Foundation, and their polls show that around 85% of Americans, of both Democrats and Republicans, think we should have congressional term limits. And that is actually part of the Heritage Foundation's about what their key takeaways are of what we need to do to fix Congress. I have another poll that's been done here by Pew Research, and Pew Research is ranked nationally as being in the center. They're a nonpartisan group, and I can pass any of these out. You can pass some of these down. I think I'll get it right so some of the members can look at these, and if not, maybe you could share. When they've looked at term limits, 90% of registered Republican voters believe we need term limits, and 86% of the Democrats believe we should have term limits. There's a secondary issue about why we should have term. I mean, we in Tennessee, we balance our budgets. The state governments in mostly around the country are doing very well, and I think we're doing a very good job in Tennessee. Congress can't balance budgets. They can't even pass a budget, and we go through that every year. We also have an issue in Washington about the aging that we see at all three branches of government. It can be at the executive branch, it could be in the U.S. Senate, it can be in Congress, and even on the Supreme Court we have issues. And that is, I mean, what would be a better way than to have term limits? And even if we have someone who's elected at the age of 75, which is getting to be pretty old, we're still going to have a term limit by the time they're in their early 80s. And I think that's another reason we should do that, and because that's becoming an issue. We look at one of the major Republican candidates, and what has been his campaign slogan: "We need to drain the swamp." This is one way we can drain the swamp. So we're seeing this from all levels of government. Overall, it's greater than 85% of the American population is asking someone to do it. By the way, there was a vote in Congress in the 1990s, and a majority of Congress felt that there should be term limits, but the issue was you had to have 2/3, and they weren't there. And we also know that Congress is not going to vote themselves out of office unless the states put pressure on them.